Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. Welcome to the DCEU show. Now, do you know what? I've decided I'm just going to do a DCEU show every morning. Every day I'm going to have at least one DCEU show. Solid. Lots to talk about. Let's get started. Right, there's a lot of things that have been said over on Twitter that were really winding me up. So first, let's talk about Christopher McQuarrie apparently rejecting the DCEU with a couple of offers. Right, let me go back and tell you how this all started. Now, obviously, Henry Cavill was in the latest Mission Impossible. Christopher McQuarrie directed that. And while they were promoting that film, they were asked about Man of Steel. Henry was talking about having some ideas for Man of Steel 2. Christopher McQuarrie was giving his opinions and said he'd be interested, but no one's spoken to him or given him any offers. Now, let's jump a few months later. Now, as soon as the next two Mission Impossibles were announced, media outlets and the shill bloggers are saying that Chris actually rejected many, or at least two DCEU offers. Now, as I said before Chris even said anything, I said it was all bullshit. I said it was all lies. And guess what? He angrily came out last night on Twitter and said, do not believe anything unless it comes directly from me. He says, even if it's literally about me taking a DCEU film or me rejecting a DCEU film, anything, I haven't said anything, which means none of this is true. And this is very dangerous because I do notice a lot of you do believe anything you read on Twitter about the DCEU. It doesn't matter if you know the source or you don't. You have to be more, because the thing is, you are, as DCEU fans, you are representing the whole franchise on social media. So once you read something, once you start posting about it as fact, then this is where the waters get muddy. So there's another story, right, going around from my fellow DCEU fans, which I'm very disappointed about, by the way. Apparently, people are saying that James Wan disrespected Warner Brothers, and he was meeting with Zack Snyder to get his input and take from the kind of tone of the DCEU. So there will be consistency throughout his Aquaman film. Now, there's a lot of other things coming out as well, which are not true, by the way, that Warner Brothers wanted to embrace Joss Whedon's version of Aquaman and making dirty jokes and things like that. First of all, Joss Whedon's, in defense of Joss Whedon's Aquaman, he wasn't too different to what we saw in James Wan Aquaman. Yeah, he was a bit more kind of jokey, but he wasn't making dirty jokes. What? What are you talking about? But anyway, take this around the circle and tell you what actually was going on. James Wan is very grateful to Zack Snyder for putting him on as director of Aquaman. He has a lot of respect for him, and he was always going to talk to Zack about the movie, get his advice, just, kind of get his take on his vision for Aquaman. Warner Brothers was never against this situation. Never. Warner Brothers were more than happy for Zack and James to talk. Let me be clear to you. Warner Brothers own the DC characters in the DC films. If Warner Brothers really didn't want James Wan to talk with Zack Snyder, let alone sit there watching his take of the Justice League, do you really think that would ever happen? Warner Brothers are a studio. These studios are like gangsters. I mean, I could tell you some stories that will make your hair rot. So please don't start telling me that Warner Brothers didn't want James Wan to talk to Zack Snyder, but James Wan just went, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. No. Basically, James Wan he didn't need a letter from Warner Brothers or Walter Hamada. Do you imagine it, right? Who's James Wan's boss while he was doing Aquaman? Walter Hamada, a man he's been working closely with all his professional career. Do you really think that Walter Hamada said, don't talk to that bloke, don't watch his cut of Justice League, don't take his advice? Of course he didn't. Walter Hamada didn't give two hoots who James Wan was conferring with during the filming of Aquaman. So this is fake news. This is what annoys me. And I hate using that term because I hate Trump. But the point is, it's ridiculous ridiculous some of the crap I see people talking about online. So yes, James Wan did confer with Zack Snyder on the direction and the kind of tone of what Aquaman would be. Nothing wrong with that. Nobody cared. Nobody was against that, especially not Warner Bros. In fact, Warner Bros. Were delighted, and are delighted with James Wan and have no issue whatsoever. Let me just say something to you people, because this is really annoying me now. We are really in a positive situation with this film. Please don't find crap to bring the negativity back, right? We know that Warner Brothers made a mistake. Now, some of you are never going to forgive Warner Brothers for Justice League. I'm over it. I accept it. I can still watch that film. I'm still fighting for the Snyder Cut. But this is not how you persuade Warner Brothers to release that cut. By doing things like this, by spreading bullshit like this, you put their backs up and you put back the release of that film for years and years and years. So you can speak the truth about Justice League and the wrong of Zack being removed from that project. That's fine. But don't make up nonsense about Warner Brothers not wanting James Wan to talk to Zack Snyder, because it's simply not true. Now, I'm not the president of the DCEU fandom, and nor do I want to be, but I'm just advising you all to be very careful what you spread around. So that's dispersing that myth, right? So there's another myth right now that the Shazam costume cost millions and millions of dollars, and David F. Sandberg, the director, has come out and said, listen, I don't know what the bloody suit costs. It amazes me. Do you remember the time when we just used to talk about the buzz before a film would be released, or the content of a film, or the content of a film franchise? Now we care about box office so much, to the very dollar and cent. Now we're obsessed with what a bloody suit costs. Who cares? Is this supposed to be a negative thing? Are we supposed to be moaning because Shazam's suit is allegedly costing all this money? Do you really care about that? Is that really interesting to you? Because it isn't interesting to me. Shall I tell you what? All these crap fake stories are coming out because there's no real news. Because it's January. It's the dead season. It's the dead season for cinema, and it's the dead season for gossip. So bloggers and pundits and us lot are kind of bored right now. But you know what? I think it's criminal to start making up shit. So I'm quite a smart guy, and I've told you guys before, I'm above average IQ. I'm not just bigging myself up. That's a fact. I've had my IQ tested. So when I go on Twitter, I read through bullshit. I see through people. That's why I get blocked a lot on Twitter, and that's why I have a lot of arguments. But at the end of the day, I won't stand by where people are making up trouble and stirring shit over a franchise I really like. So what do you think about all this? Do you believe the nonsense being said about James Wan and Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder? Let me know why you believe that. Have you got evidence to the opposite of what I've been saying? I hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked the video, please share, subscribe and like. And I shall see you again soon. Keep it DC.